Cynthia Hartman is able to, at least temporarily, stall his plan to kill her. And they end up back at the cabin.
At that point in time, his attitude did change. Sean still kept her bound, had her ankles and her wrists. But he did remove the tape from her face.
She ends up building rapport, sort of winning him over every now and then.
He started to take care of her. He was allowing her to eat or drink at this point in time. And then he would also provide her with Tylenol.
Sean tried to tend to her wounds and help clean her up.
She was shot with a .22 short. So normally people would use that to shoot like a squirrel or a rabbit or some small mammal, which is probably why she didn't die.
And then in other times, his demeanor and disposition would change to frightening.
It seems as though his anger waxes and wanes, like he can almost be nice and then he's not. Just very unstable. That must have been very tormenting for her. And this goes on not just for minutes or hours, but this goes on for days.
At different points in time, he would take the rifle and put it on her body and say, "Do you want me to shoot you there? Hey, how about here? How about here?"
These aren't idle threats. She already knows he's violent. She already knows the trauma that's been done to her. At any point, her life could end. Well, I'm sure that would play through your mind over and over. This is how I'm going to die. Is anybody going to find me? Are they going to know how I died?
We had no idea anything was going on. I hadn't heard from her in a little while, and I texted her and I said, "Hey, are you doing okay? What's going on? I haven't heard from you." She texted back and she said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But it just seemed a little weird because she didn't elaborate and she wouldn't reply to any more texts. And it turned out that that was him. That was Sean replying with her phone to my text message.
The way he was manipulating, making her believe at any moment that she was going to die, and then prolonging that. It's like if you ever watched a cat with a mouse or a shrew, they'll catch it. The mouse is not likely to escape, but the cat won't kill it. It'll bat it, it'll play with it, it'll taunt it, it'll let it crawl a little ways, then it'll drag it back. Sean is like that cat. He's just taunting her, keeping her alive, controlling the situation. She had to have kept a cool head.
Firefighters arrive at the burning apartment.
You already know and expect that fire to double in size every minute. What struck me is seeing a glow that runs the length of the entire apartment complex. It was like, okay, this is serious, this is gonna be big. These apartments, they have a shared attic space. This thing has the potential to run the entire group of apartments.
Seeing the fire department running up.
What do you need?
I start yelling, we need to breach the wall. We need their help.
Card directs the firefighters through a vacant neighboring apartment.
The apartment next door was a mirror image. We were potentially able to make access through the bathroom to where this subject was with the baby.
I want at least 2 to 3 people in here.
As outside of the box as it may have been, I was excited that we've got something that we can do.
15 minutes after the blaze started, firefighter Lemon uses a Halligan bar to try and break through the wall.
Any luck in there? No.
guys see in there?
See?
I ended up cutting through the electrical, and so that killed all the lights in the apartment. Quickly, the environment turns from a manageable environment to a dangerous, rapidly escalating environment. Smoke filled up the entire bathroom. I couldn't see much more than 2 or 3 feet in front of my face. The chainsaw starts to bog down, and then all of a sudden it dies out.
Keep right there. Step up. No, we can't see.
The combustion engines that we have for our chainsaws, it's going to require oxygen for it to work. We're losing oxygen in this environment because it's being replaced by smoke.
It's not working. I'm able to go out, get it enough oxygen to restart the chainsaw.
What's hard is in these situations, any hiccup or anything that slows down your progression seems like it takes forever because time is what's mattering right now. We're unsure how long they may still have.
It took a lot in me to keep going, but I knew what was on the other side of that wall, and I knew that we were the only ones there that could make a change.
After 5 intense minutes, the firefighters break through to where the suspect is hiding with his 1-year-old child.
This is where things have to slow down. We don't know where this assailant is. We don't know if he's waiting for us with a weapon. You have to take that extra second and make sure that what you're doing is the right decision.
Detectives do not know how many homes this guy may have broken into and how many victims there might be, but police are saying we're talking about young girls here.
Police say this girl was terrified, at first pretending to be asleep, but then screaming and waking up her mom when she thought that this man might touch or assault her.
This story took place in an area that I used to cover as a field reporter, and it's one that really shocks the community to its core. I mean, when something like this happens to a neighbor, the entire community is affected.
With the area on high alert, investigators turn over every stone. But the huge break they're looking for comes from their 13-year-old victim.
Our victim and this female friend of hers, they both dance at a local dance studio. Our victim showed her friend the video surveillance footage, and that friend immediately recognized our suspect.
As it turns out, the victim's friend was also targeted by the same man.
He actually did a similar incident to her a couple years prior. Was actually criminally charged for that case.
The man's name is Jonathan Ward. He is 21 years old.
Once we had Jonathan identified, it was actually pretty easy to find because he did live locally. He was within a couple miles of our victim's residence. We sat up on his residence, waited to spot him just to confirm he was there.
At approximately 8 p.m., just 17 hours into their investigation, police execute a search and arrest warrant.
Walk out there.
Send him out to me.
It's my son.
Runner.
No.
Get him back. I'll swing it. Get him.
I'm out here. Hello. Can I put on a shirt at least? Nope. Come. Just come.
Why you take off running when the police are there yelling search warrant?
I didn't know it.
Sit down.
Sure. I just want to know what's going on.
We'll explain.
We got him into a police department setting, and he confessed to everything. He took a liking to her because he saw her on Instagram, and that's when he kind of became infatuated with her.
He had targeted not only this victim, but other girls from the dance studio. He was savvy enough to find out who these little girls were through their social media and target these little girls and find out where they lived.
The only house where he was successful at was our victim's house. He did a dry run the week before breaking into the house, and then he came back the next week, August 30th of 2018, and committed his sexual acts. He knew about the cameras being there. He knew the layout of the house. He enjoyed the fact that if he got caught, he said it sexually aroused him. Everything that we found collectively in the investigation, he is absolutely a pedophile and a sexual predator.
Jonathan Ward is convicted of child annoyance and burglary. He is sentenced to 4.5 years in prison.
Personally, being a dad, my kids don't have social media. It's not that hard to find somebody. So definitely be cognizant with what you're allowing your kids to do, because this could happen, and it does happen. So you really want to be careful with that.
It is a aha moment that we believe something happened in that apartment, but we don't know who left that and when it was left.
So the crime scene technicians took a sample swab from that blood.
While the forensics team analyzes the blood, investigators trace Christina's friend, Jacob Patton, and invite him to the police department for an interview.
Since Jacob had a relationship with Christina, we felt it was very important for him to be interviewed and rule him out as a possible suspect in her disappearance.
When did you first start talking to her? Halfway through September, maybe?
You met her in person?
Online. She was like, yeah, I'm in a relationship. She's looking for friends. I was like, oh, okay. And then we started talking after that.
Jacob discloses that he and Christina met on a dating app. He was aware of the sexual relationship between Christina and Joseph.
Did you have a romantic relationship with her at all? Ever? Or at that point?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it progressed into that, yeah, we want to know.
Yeah, we were dating, actually, for like 2.5 months, up until last week.
It was important to directly ask him whether or not he was involved in the disappearance of Christina and see what type of reaction we would get.
Where do you think she is? No idea. Why shouldn't we think that you did something to her? I know that she actually does like me. I know she loves me, and I think that Joe made some kind of threat, and I think that's why she stopped talking to me.
So you don't have any problems if I look at your phone?
No, you know, don't look at it.
Okay.
He willingly provided consent for law enforcement to search his phone. A review of Jacob Patton's cell phone didn't reveal any evidence that would lead us to believe he had any involvement in Christina Proden's disappearance. Jacob seemed very truthful. He seemed honest. He wanted to provide information. We didn't believe he was involved.
Investigators rule out Jacob as a suspect and refocus on Christina's boyfriend, Joseph.
Early on in the investigation, Joseph Porter was entered as a missing person into NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center, so that if other law enforcement agencies have had contact with them, we could be immediately notified.
Detective Moore?
We learned that he was involved in a traffic stop in Greene County, Missouri on January 4th at about 8:30 in the evening.
Joseph is 600 miles away from Edina, Minnesota, when Missouri Highway Patrol pulls him over. The stop happens 16 hours after Christina's last communication with her mother.
It was very important to obtain any video of that traffic stop.
Can you send it over to us? Okay, thank you.
Our dispatch center on November 3rd, around 5 o'clock, received a 911 call. And it was from Janice Cheadle that she had found her father. Patrick Cheadle was deceased in the back of a van.
Crime scene investigators, they're looking for cigarette butts, a soda can, anything that may have DNA to where they can then pinpoint potential suspects.
In this day and age, DNA, fibers, everything else, it's down to the minute, so we wanted to limit the amount of people within the actual scene. He was in the back of the van. There was a lot of blood in the hair and face, so we knew that it was a head wound. You can easily conclude someone usually doesn't die in that manner in the back of a vehicle. We knew we had a homicide.
Detectives are finding a few things that raise questions. There's no blood splatter inside of that van. Because of that, they know that this body has been moved from a place where this man was killed into the van and then parked in this area.
We processed the van. We took evidence. One of the bits of evidence was a cell phone that Mr. Cheadle had on his person. There was a significant amount of cash found.
Patrick Cheadle had $3,000 cash on him when they found his body. Apparently, he was supposed to go buy a car that evening that he went missing.
There was also some marijuana found in the back of the van. And eventually we removed the body from the van and took it to the coroner's office. The autopsy determined it was probable that he died from a gunshot wound to the head and that he was shot at fairly close range. Then he had abrasions of limestone, as if he had been drugged. And limestone is what your gravel driveways and a lot of your concrete is made of. They also saw inside his collar was dried vegetation. And we called in a botanist, and he identified it as a plantain weed. It's very common, but the botanist said wherever he was drugged, this plant will be present.
It is bizarre. You have a murder on Halloween, the body being found on Elm Street. Is there a connection to Halloween? Nobody knows. In 2009, Greenville, Ohio has a population of less than 13,000 people. This is not an ordinary situation for the people who live in a small community like this. They are scared.
We're the type of community where people still wave to you. So it's very small town, the charm is there. Greenville's very large, older homes, nice homes. Once you leave Greenville, it's vast farmland, so we are very rural. 1997 was the last homicide we had before this one.
People in Greenville, Ohio are terrified. So investigators need to find the person who did this, and you got to find them quickly.